Hello and welcome to the TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com. I am Peter Worski, the Toronto website developer specializing in Drupal. And in this video tutorial, we're going to continue on with our second Ubercart series, looking at advanced Ubercart development with creating an e-commerce site. And we're going to look at bulk importing products. So this is something that I've got a lot of emails about. There seems to be a lot of interest about doing. But before we start, I'm going to actually ask for a huge favor. If this video tutorial helped you, please leave a comment on YouTube or my website. Let me know, because I always appreciate getting feedback and hearing how users are making do with these video tutorials. But also leave a feedback or a thumbs up on YouTube. I appreciate those, and obviously they go to help these videos, make these videos a little bit more popular and share the knowledge with other Drupal users who are on YouTube looking for information. So, that said, we're going to head over to drupal.org/project/feeds, and this is one of the modules that we're going to need in order to accomplish bulk importation. This module actually allows you to go ahead and bulk import users, taxonomy terms, or nodes. It's not just products. And so because of that, it's super powerful and one of the best modules out there, and obviously pretty popular because 50,000 sites are using it. So I highly encourage you to do this. I've also used this for migrations, if you're not doing products, but maybe migrating from a major Drupal installation to another one. This is definitely helpful. So that said, that's one key module that we're going to need. Next module that we're going to need, it's a dependency of feeds, is the job scheduler. And you're going to go ahead at the time of recording this and download the alpha version. And so I wouldn't worry too much about using alpha version not being a stable release. You'll see that close to 57,000 sites are already using this, so I think you're pretty safe. And also, there's not a lot of bugs that are actually open, right? So that's kind of neat. Right? Not neat so much as reassuring. So UC feeds is the last module that you're going to get, and what this does is an add-on to the feeds module to actually allow us to map certain Ubercart fields from our CSV file. And you'll see what I'm talking about when we actually walk through to do this. So you're going to download all of those. A couple of different ways to do that. Hopefully you know all of them from the first video tutorial series. I've gone ahead and downloaded them and installed them, but I'm going to head over to my site/modules, and I'll show you what you would get enabled if you downloaded these modules. You'll get feeds, feeds admin UI, feeds import, feeds news, and then Ubercart feeds. You're going to enable feeds admin UI, and what this allows you to do is the actual user administration pages, so you're going to want those. This feeds import is an example of a node importer, so if you want to walk through what an example looks like, you can go ahead and grab that, but I'll be doing that for you, so I don't think you need it. Last thing you want to enable is Ubercart feeds. This is the module that we just talked about, UC feeds. Click that off because that's what's going to provide us some cool Drupal Ninja-like magic skills. Next thing you're going to grab is the job scheduler. Not so much grab as enable, and so you'll see that I've got that enabled. I'm not actually using a trigger. I'm not going to show you how to do that, so you don't need that enabled, but make sure you have job scheduler, otherwise you will not be able to enable the feeds module. So you would go down and save that. I already have, so I'm not going to do that. Now, once you have those set up, if you go to structure, you'll see you've got feeds importer now. So we're going to go ahead and add an importer. You'll also notice I've got UC products if you're astute. That's because I've gone ahead, worked ahead of this to save a little bit of time, and we'll come back to that. But I'm going to walk you through starting from scratch. Click Add Importer. Now, you're going to get presented with the ability to enter a name. And so this is the name of your importer, so I'm just going to refer to this as products, because that's what I'm importing. And so this will be a bulk importer of UC products, right? Just good to have a description to know what's going on. Now, as a sidebar, actually, we'll save that for 5 minutes from now. You'll notice here we're on the user interface here, and so this is how we actually administer the feeds module. And first thing we're going to do is walk through all of these settings here on the left side, right? So go ahead and click Settings for our basic settings, and you'll see here we just set up the product name, our feeds name, and then our description. So that's all here if we want to update that. We also notice here attached to content type. And so what this allows you to do is actually attach this importer form to your content type. So if you went to create content for a product, you'd see the importer on that page along with all the other fields. I've never had to use that, so I don't know that you would. Basically, I don't think you would run in that kind of situation. So I would just say leave it as a standalone form. The other thing to draw your attention to, periodic import. So you can, with Job Scheduler, you can make this module, the UC or the feeds module, run on a certain interval. And so this would be helpful if you were, say, grabbing an RSS feed from a website and you wanted to pull that in, or a bunch of different websites, maybe like Drupal Planet. We're not going to do that. We're just going to always grab our feed from a file that we upload, a comma separated value file. So this periodic import I don't need, so I'm going to turn that off. So I would recommend you do that too if you're going to be doing the same thing I am. The other thing, import on submission, you want to make sure that's checked off, because when you save, or rather upload your CSV file, hit save, it will actually automatically import the products. Now that said, caveat here, if you have thousands upon thousands of products, you might want to process this in the background associated with a cron job. If you're not sure what a cron job is, do a quick Google search and you'll find tons of information on that. But essentially it's just different times that your server will do things. So we can go ahead and hit save. Next thing we're going to do, you'll see that we've got this fetcher. That's our next major section here. And you'll see it's an HTTP fetcher right now. And so that's to download content from a URL. That's not something we're going to be doing. Obviously we need to change that. So here, after clicking change beside fetcher, I can choose a file upload rather than HTTP. So I can go save this. And now if I go to the settings for file upload, you'll see that we have some allowed file extensions, one of which is CSV. That's what we're going to be creating, so that's great. We don't have to do anything here. And I wouldn't worry about supply path to the file or directory because obviously this is for expert just like it says. So nothing to save here, we're all good. Next thing is the parser. And so what we need to do is change this, because by default this will always be the common syndication parser. We want it to be the CSV parser because that's what we're going to be uploading. So we'll change that over to the select and we'll hit save. Now we'll see that this parser is changed and we can go to the settings of that. And you'll see we've got two settings. The default delimiter, so we're using commas, but you could also change this to tabs or semicolons if that's what you prefer. And if you didn't have headers, I always recommend that you have headers, but if you didn't, you could check that off and you'd be good to go. Next thing we're going to do is the processor. So we'll see that it's already at node processor, but I'll show you what happens if we change this. And this is what I was talking about before, where the feeds module itself provides you with the ability to import taxonomy terms or users. And so you could change those if you wanted to use that module for a different purpose. But because we're importing products, we're going to stick with nodes, so we're good there. Now, next thing we're going to do is look at this this node settings. And so here we've got some options on what to do if we're going to be re-uploading products that already exist. So we could not update the existing nodes, so this would just replicate them. We could replace the existing ones, or we could update the existing ones. So replace is always a good idea because you don't have to update information, which can get slower, or just do duplicates in case maybe you screw up or something's different that has the same name. So I usually use it as do not update, and then I always check what I've done after the fact. Text format. So you can upload your plain text filter or full. These are obviously all your text imports, all your text inputs that are predefined. So I would recommend you leave it at plain text. You could do full HTML, but then you kind of run into some security issues. If a user, could upload a file for your importer, you're allowing people to do that. It might not be the best trustworthy person, or somebody hacks an account, that kind of thing that can really screw things up. So I would just recommend you always stick with plain text. This is one thing that we need to change, the content type. We're actually going to be doing products, so make sure you change this content type. Author is going to be the default author that uploads your products when you actually go to see who the author is. And so I'm going to use my account, the admin account, but this could be any one of your users. And I'm going to do a permission check to make sure that yours can actually create these products. So that's kind of a security feature. It's nice to have. And we can expire the nodes, so this might be good if you're creating products, say for a ticketed event. You can always expire the nodes. We're not going to do that, but maybe we'll take a look at that in one of the later video tutorials, depending upon feedback that I get. So we go ahead and we save that. Now we're going to actually look at the mapping. So mapping is one part of this where it's going to take a little bit of time, but again, remember, I don't know, what's the saying? Ounce of prevention saves a pound of pain or something. I don't know, something like that. Anyways, this might take you a little bit of time, but at the same time, if you're importing thousands of products, your 5 minutes or 10 minutes that this is going to take is nothing compared to how long that would take. So, this is where we're going to take a look at our Excel spreadsheet. But before we do that, what we should do, close this window, is we'll go to add content, because we're going to have to know what we're actually creating here. So we'll add a product to get an idea of what fields we want. So, if we head over here, we'll see that we've got product name, description, and all of these other fields that we need to create. And so one of the things I should have mentioned was on this mapping here, what we're going to be doing is identifying what the header in our CSV file is and what target it actually maps up to. So we're talking about the title, and then in our Excel spreadsheet, and then the actual node title. And so Drupal will know that, hey, this goes with this, right? So you can look at these targets, and you'll see we've got comments, descriptions, images, a whole bunch of different stuff, right? But you also see we've got these UC and then a bunch of fields. This is what the UC feeds module is actually providing. Without that module, you would go to map these fields, and you would only have the basic fields that are associated with your content type. And by that I mean, if we look at structure, content type, look at product, manage fields, I know that's long. You see I've got description, image, product type. Those would be the only three things here associated with the other standard system stuff like node ID, path alias, and whatnot, that you could actually map to. Because we installed UC feeds, we're getting UC cost, list price, model, name, sell price, weight, all that good stuff, right? So that's pretty cool. Now, that caveat aside, we'll go back to our product, and I find the easiest way to do this is open up your product, have it on one side of the screen, have an Excel spreadsheet on the other side of the screen. And so, first thing I need is my product name, so I've added that product name. Second thing I need is a description, so I've obviously added that as a description. Now if we scroll down, we need an image, so I've added image. I've got product type, I've got SKU, I've got list price, and then we've got this product is shippable, right? And so there's no way to actually turn that off when you're using UC imports. There's no, zero value for that. So that's always going to be checked off. If you're uploading products that have a weight and units associated with them, you can obviously do that as well. And so you'll see here that I've got weight and unit weight. The one thing that you can't do right now, I'm not sure why, it might be for whatever reason, maybe people aren't using Ubercart to ship physical products, but you can't actually enter in the length, the width, the height, or the units associated with that. So if you have physical products and you're using Ubercart, I'm sorry, but you're out of luck in this video tutorial series. You'd have to do some custom development, or maybe post in feature requests and ask the people who have created UC feeds to upload or create that different functionality. So that aside, I mean, that might be the only downside to the UC feeds module at this point. The other thing that's really, really cool, and actually I can't show you right now, but if we looked at an existing product, we have their attributes that we set up in the first video tutorial series, we can actually import products with those attributes. So when we're looking at select a target, we've got UCA cost. This is Ubercart attribute cost for my color black. So while we don't have length, width, and height, we've got these cool features, which I think makes UC feeds obviously a kick-ass module. So going back, the way that we actually set those up is you need to define specific columns for each of those fields, right? So if I wanted to add a black color to my product, I have to have a black column. If I want to have gray, a gray column, red, a red column, yellow, a yellow column, right? And so whatever attribute you have to have a column for that in your spreadsheet. So that said, the way that you actually map these is, you type in your text, then you map your field. Now, like I said, I've gone ahead and done this ahead of time, so you don't have to watch me do all of those. So I'll just go check out UC products. And if I scroll down to mapping here, you'll see that I've got all my source and my targets set up, right? So that's pretty good. And you'll see I've got my black color price here with my black color. I left one off so that I can actually show you how I'm doing this. So I'm going to take gray color price, copy that, add it to the source field, and then I'm going to go to my price for gray. I'm going to click add, right, and then we're good. I don't know if you have to hit save, but I always hit save anyways. So there we go. Now, the neat thing about this is, let's say that all of these products that we're setting up don't necessarily have a black or a gray color. The way that we actually attach these attributes to the product is by entering a value in this column. So if I left this blank, there would be no black attribute associated with that. If I put it as a 0, the attribute would be associated at no cost. If I added $5, the attribute would be associated with the product with a $5 cost. So that's pretty cool. That's kind of how you use these different columns. So I've gone ahead and I've actually created a product here. So I'll copy this and we'll go back over here and we'll paste this. And I'll walk you through this description and all this information to kind of get an idea of what's going on. But going back to black color price, you'll see that when I upload this, it'll come as a 0 cost. And if I put in 5 for the gray, it'll come in at a $5. Two caveats to this spreadsheet. First being image. this probably looks a little bit weird to you. I've got public : / and then my product image. What you need to do is, if you have a whole bunch of images for your product, you need to FTP upload those to your site. And where you're going to put those depends on how you set up your actual product. So bear with me, I know this is going to get a little bit boring for about 3 minutes, but you should understand how this actually works in case you run into problems, which it's not uncommon. I ran into problems when I started setting this up. Go into Manage Fields, go into Image, and if I click this, you'll see down here I've got this files directory, right? And it's blank. And so if I actually go to Field Settings, you'll see that I've got public files, right? So that's why I've got public : / and then just the file name, because there is no folder that I'm putting this into, and Drupal is using the public file system. The way that I actually figured that out is if you go into the database and you go to Files Managed, File Managed, this table, you'll see here the URI. This is the actual URI that Drupal is using. And so this is why I took public : / because that's what Drupal and Ubercart will look for. If you had a different subfolder, you would have to add that in and you would get that field from there. So that's caveat 1. Caveat 2, if you are using weights and you have a weight unit, when we're over here back to create our product, you'll see that we've got pounds, kilograms, ounces, and grams. So you might think that your value should be pounds. A little bit intuitive. I did. But that's not the case. Pounds will just throw you an error. I also thought it could be 0 because this I figured would be an array, and this would be the 0 value. Again, threw me an error. If I look at the database and I go down to UC products, you'll see here unit weights, LB. If you're using kilograms, I assume it's kg, but you want to check your database to see what exists in there already. So that's why I've gone ahead and I've done that. Those are the 2 things that I think will catch you up. So just make sure that you have those things set up. That said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this Excel spreadsheet. And I want to make sure to save it as a CSV file. So where's my CSV? And I'll do this as 4 so it's fresh for you. Obviously, I've played with this for a while. So we'll go, okay, these are just the Excel things telling me, that my setup and whatever. So now I've got this, I've saved it. I can go and the path to your importer, excuse me, throat is getting dry. It's actually import. And for whatever reason, I don't know, it might just be my setup. I can't actually find that in the menu. Although I can't remember if I did it on other sites or not anyways. It actually adds the path into your navigation block as well under import. And so just remember that you gotta go to /import, or if you have your navigation block enabled, go back to import. So here you'll see we've got products and UC products. So UC products is the one that we have mapped to everything. Other caveat to this, totally unrelated to everything. You'll see that I went back to Bartik just because that other theme we had enabled was really ugly. So don't think that you missed any video tutorials or something's weird. Go ahead, UC products. Now, you'll see this is kind of our import screen. You just want to scroll down, choose a file. I'm going to go to my desktop. And if I scroll down, I've got my UC tutorial 4 CSV. And I click it, all you got to do, I've got my headers, right? I'm using my delimiter, we already set that up, so we're good. I can just go ahead and hit import. Now when I import, I had 1 product in my Excel spreadsheet, so it tells me 1 imported product total. And if I go into my content, I can check out UC series. And you'll see I've got everything mapped up, pretty cool. I just created my best video tutorial series on the internet, which is obviously the UC video tutorial series that I'm now selling on my website for $14.99. Interesting enough, I say check out Toronto Website Developer, support these video tutorials by making that purchase. But I've also created my black and I've got my gray. Remember, black was set at a 0 price, so there's no price for that attribute. Gray is set at $5. And so I've got those 2 attributes set up. So that, to me, is super powerful, super cool. We could have just created 1,000 products here, could have all had their own attributes. And all this different information, and we would have done it in what, like 2-3 minutes. So that to me is the UC feeds module. These guys that created it, going back over to drupal.org/project/UC feeds. Of course, it doesn't want to be readily available. This team of guys, obviously awesome, and Drupalology, I say check them out because they are sponsoring this, and if you're using this, you are obviously benefiting from their sponsorship. So again, if this video tutorial helped you, please leave a comment, let me know. Love the feedback. It always helps me when I'm going to plan new video tutorials. And as always, a thumbs up. And visit me at torontowebsitedeveloper.com. Always appreciate that as well. So until the next video tutorial, take care.